Howdy! I love the idea of a cute girly little salon vlog. I'm just really torn right now. I feel like the dilemma is I want my salon chair to be a very safe space, and I think that for right now I don't feel comfortable asking people if I can film them during their whole appointment, because I feel like that just changes the dynamic and it changes the way people behave and what they feel comfortable saying. It just, you know, it changes the vibe a lot, and I want to be the kind of person where people are like, okay, you know, falling asleep during their appointment in the chair, or are comfortable making a less than attractive face, or telling me something very personal without wondering if that video is going to end up somewhere, even if no one else knows what they're talking about. It's like the fact that you know you're being filmed is very intrusive if it's not what you're expecting. So I think for right now, the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to find a little middle ground, showcase the decision making and kind of like the hair process, because I think it's interesting, and a lot of other people who don't even do hair find it interesting too. So I just want to talk about the process of doing hair and show you some clips, but in a way where, like, when I ask them, hey, is it okay if I take some before and after pictures and videos? And if they say yes and they're completely comfortable, then they know that there's a set segment of time where that's going to happen, rather than the whole appointment feeling like it's being watched, if that makes sense. So it's just kind of out of respect for my clients. I don't want to do like a whole vlog. I have like a few friends who I feel like would totally be comfortable with that, but as far as my general clients go, I think for now what I'll do is I'll just do these little, I don't know, like I don't know, I haven't thought of a cute name for it yet. Hopefully by the time I've posted this video, I've thought of a cute name for it, and it'll be really cute and quirky and fun, and it'll just go in a little title sequence right here. This client I love so much because I just feel like lately I've been getting so many of these clients where like they're literally just like, here are the things I like about my hair, here are the things that I don't like. I don't really care how you fix them, just fix them. So I had a client come in and she was basically like, hey, I want my roots covered up. And I was like, okay, cool. And she like had a few gray hairs, whatever, no big deal. Then I started kind of asking her more questions about her hair, like, okay, like there's this reddish color in your hair. Do you enjoy that? I'm trying to come up with her formula for her roots, because just because her hair is a color doesn't mean we have to keep doing it the same color if that's not what she likes. And I don't like to assume things about my clients. So I'm just like, okay, hey, your hair right now has a reddish tint to it. Is that something you enjoy that you want me to basically match when I do your root color? And she said, no, I hate the red actually. And I said, oh, would you like to tone that out today as well? Do you have the time, and like, is that in your budget? And she's like, actually, yes, I would love to tone out the red. So we started going through the options. When I do my consultations, there are two things that I hit right off the bat. I pinpoint exactly what it is that their hair is at right now, what they like and don't like about it. I pinpoint exactly where they want to be. And then after that, I figure out how we bridge that gap, how we get them there. Can we do it all in one service? What is their budget to get this done? Are they willing to sit in the chair for a long time, or is this kind of the quickest, easiest way is the best? So I figured out what she liked and didn't like about her hair. She said she didn't like the red, and I said, are you okay with being warm? Like if your hair was, for example, golden instead of red, would you enjoy that? Is it just that you don't want any warmth, or do you not want any red but you're okay with like golden warmth? And she was like, oh, golden would be great. I was like, okay, cool. And then I said, are you okay with going darker? And she said, yeah, like I'm totally fine with going darker. I'm actually okay with being as dark as my natural hair color, which is like brunette, you know? And I said, okay, that's great. So the only thing is, are you looking to hold on to some of those highlights in your hair? Like, would you be happy if there were some lighter pieces still lighter than your base color? And she was like, I actually would like to keep the highlights. And I was like, okay, so here's the compromise there. The darker the color, the stronger the pigments in the color. I need pigments in that color formula to cancel out the red. If we use a lighter color, then your natural will get to keep some of those highlights, but the pigment won't be as strong, so some of that red might still come through, but it'll be much more toned down than it would be if we left it as is. So we'll get some of that red out, but some of it might peek through. The perk of that is that you'll still have those highlights showing through a little bit. Is that a compromise you're willing to make? She's like, yeah, that's great. The other option would be we could tone it down, get rid of all the red, but you wouldn't have those highlights. And she's like, no, let's have a little bit of the red showing through for the sake of keeping the highlights. I was like, okay, cool. Then what we talked about was permanent versus demi-permanent. The perk of demi-permanent is it obviously washes out. It's lower commitment. She told me, however, that her lifestyle includes a lot of sunshine and a lot of like fishing, being in the water, whatever. So my first thought is toner's gonna last for about a week and a half. Like, it's supposed to last 6 to 8 weeks in Hawaii. In that circumstance, it's gonna last 3 weeks tops, probably a week and a half in her case. Like, she's out in the water all the time. It's just not gonna work. So I was like, hey, so normally I would opt for demi-permanent, it's less commitment, whatever, but because of your lifestyle, I don't want it to wash out really quickly and basically not be worth your money if we tone out the red and then that just washes out. Because obviously the stuff at your roots is gonna be permanent because we're covering gray, but the stuff that we're using to kind of tone out the red towards the mids and ends of your hair, we can do demi-permanent or permanent. We do permanent, it's permanent, so it's harder to lift through. And so I was like, are you absolutely sure you're not ever gonna go blonde? She's like, no, I don't want to go blonde. I don't want to go lighter, you know, whatever natural sun bleaching happens, I'm stoked on, whatever, but I don't want to be lighter. I don't want a chemical service where I'm like breaking through that color. And I forgot to mention, that was the other thing I brought up, was if we did dark enough to cancel all the red, that would be great and fine and dandy. But what I liked about our plan of just going a little bit darker, somewhere between where we were starting and her base color, if we did something in the middle, we'd still have that permanent base to work with that had canceled out a bunch of it. And then we could always do a demi-permanent color on top that would wash out over time. But at least if it washed out, it wouldn't wash out to super red. It would just wash out to that final permanent color that we got to today. So it's like we could always build on the service with the demi-permanent color, but this was just giving us a starting canvas kind of. And then we could always like add more tone to it with the demi-permanent that would wash out over time and be less commitment. But we kind of got her to a place where it was a good canvas for a demi-permanent color to like wash out to, if that makes sense. So anyway, I was like, because of your lifestyle, I feel that permanent is the right choice for you. I don't think it's worth your money to do a toner in this case because you're so sure that you don't want to go lighter again, and because you just really don't like the red and you're not enjoying your hair the way it is. I think we should do permanent. How do you feel about that? She's like, that's great. So we moved on. The other thing to keep in mind is developer. So if you're not a hairstylist, there's your hair color that you mix with a developer, which is essentially the ingredient that activates it and opens your cuticle of your hair and allows the color molecules in. There's usually a 10 volume, 20 volume, 30 volume, 40 volume. 10 is the least, 40 is the most. So for gray coverage, to properly cover it, you need at least 20 volume. Whereas if you're just depositing color on the hair, you can use 10 volume. So what we did is we used 20 volume at the roots for her gray coverage, 10 volume for the mids to ends because we didn't want to cause too much damage by lifting the cuticle more than we needed, and we just kind of wanted to deposit that color to sit on top. We didn't necessarily need to get in there and penetrate through grays because all the grays were already covered through the mids to ends because it's less damaging the lower the developer that you use, and we really just needed to deposit color. It wasn't really about it wasn't about getting her lighter or breaking through grays. It was literally just about depositing pigment. So that's something to keep in mind. Is I used a different formula for her roots versus her mids to ends. Not to mention her roots didn't have the same color situation, so I put something with a little bit more of a green undertone in her roots so that when it washes out, it already is combating that red because red is across from green in the color wheel, so it's gonna cancel. And then on her mids to ends, I used something that had a tiny bit of gold because she said she liked the gold, she just doesn't like the red, and then had green pigment and blue pigment because the red was almost closer to an orange red, and across from orange on the color wheel is blue. I hope some of that made sense. Basically, in coloring hair, if you're trying to cancel out a color, you're going to use what's across from it on the color wheel, which if you're in any kind of you're a painter or in photography, or you use the color wheel in any way, shape, or form, you'll understand what I'm talking about. So across from red is green, so red is going to be canceled out by green. Across from orange is blue, so blue is going to cancel out orange. When you're looking at the hair and the colors you're trying to cancel, you want to figure out, this is a red, but is it properly red, or is it kind of a reddish orange? I don't know, how much of each pigment is it, When there's an orange, is it closer to yellow or is it closer to red? You're trying to kind of gauge, is it a proper, true right in the middle red, or is it a little bit closer to orange? I sensed that there was a little bit of orange in there, so I used a little blue as well. Also, we talked about the prospect of using a strengthening treatment. We use the K18 treatment. I'm actually going to make a video about the K18 treatment because it's really revolutionary and I want to talk about the technology and the science behind it. I did my little bonding post on Instagram about like what it means when a product promises bonding, and the way that K18 bonds compared to other products is really interesting, and the science behind it is super interesting. So I'll post something about that as well. But pretty much I told her there's this great treatment, it's called K18. I noticed your hair needs a little strengthening, it's a little bit brittle, and so I would love to do that treatment on you if that's within your budget. The thing with treatments is sometimes I don't make them optional, because sometimes if I think that their hair is going to fall apart doing a color service without that treatment, or if I really think it's in their best interest, I just tell them, I really think we need to do this service. I don't feel comfortable doing this color service without this treatment. But in her case, I was like, it's for the best, but we can get away with not doing it. Like I'm a very objective person. I'm not salesy. I'm not just trying to make money. I'm very much like, I'm going to tell people like it is. And I was like, we can get away without it, but I think you'd really benefit from it. Like, would you be interested in trying it? She's like, yeah, treating myself. I was like, good for you, queen. So we decided to do that actually in her consultation. And I think this is what is going to set me apart from other people. It might be extra, it might be unnecessary, depends who you ask, but I think it really communicates to my clients that I deeply care for them, I deeply respect them, and I care about where they're coming from, and I want to work with them, and I want to be compromising and take their life and their situation into consideration. And the thing that I do to communicate that is I basically told her, here's the price that we're looking at. I'm not going to tell you the actual numbers because it's none of your business. I'm not going to share that kind of personal information about my client services, but I will say that I gave her a price. I was like, if we just do your roots, this is the price. If we do your roots with that red canceling color on the mids to ends, here's the price. And if we did the roots, the mids to ends color, and the K18 treatment, here's the price range. And she said, I want to go all the way. I want to do the whole service, the full package. So that's what we ended up doing. But I made very clear to her, there's no pressure. I know you just signed up for a root coverage today, and the rest of this kind of came out during our consultation. I don't want you to feel pressured, but here are all of your options. Here are the pros and cons of those options. And then here are the prices for each of those options. And then she got to make a choice based on all of those options. And even if she was going to choose to have everything done all along, and I could have saved myself some time and energy not explaining all of that, I feel like it was worth it just to make her feel safe and comfortable, unpressured. It sets a really good environment and a really good tone for the service. And I just feel like even though she was already very trusting and very respectful of me and my skills, I feel like it just takes it that extra level when people feel comfortable. And to me, it's not even just about retaining clients and like, oh, if people trust me, they'll come back to me. It's also about like, I just want to be a good person in general. And I just, in my professional life, I don't want people to ever feel uncomfortable or pressured, or I guess just like in any way feel like they're not in full autonomy of themselves during their service. So yeah, that's why I over explain a lot, is it's really important that people feel safe and feel comfortable and feel like they can ask questions and feel like there's nothing taboo in an appointment. If they're not being disrespectful to me, then everything's fair game. Ask away. Let's talk about it. Let's communicate. Let's not leave things to be read between the lines. Let's communicate, because that is the easiest way to make sure everyone leaves happy. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear, but my little alarm clock is going off right now because it's telling me it's bedtime and I'm not listening to it. Also, keep in mind, like I said, this is a placeholder color, meaning we can always tone out more of that red or bring the highlights lower, but at least now this permanent color is what every demi-permanent color will wash out to. A beautiful, pretty base with less red, less orange, but not too dark. She loved it so much, and I got the added bonus of every occasion like this at work where it could have been another easy run-of-the-mill service for both of us, but became more because of curiosity and intentionality. I feel like I become a better professional and a more attentive, unselfish, unhurried, and thoughtful human in general, and that is what it's all about. Thanks so much for listening to me yap about what I love, and for voting on my Instagram poll to help me decide. I love my job. I love my clients. Let me know if you want more videos like this, and let me know if you want like a proper salon vlog, like day in the life kind of thing. I'll try to think of a way to do that in the way that's most respectful to my clients, and in a way that that keeps all my clients feeling safe and comfortable and not like they're being surveillanced. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Love you. Bye.